Good evening, Hampton Roads. Welcome to another edition of Dollars and Common Sense, your local source for objective, unbiased financial advice. I'm your host, certified financial planner Kevin Zivna, coming to you live like I do every second and fourth Tuesday of the month to dialogue with you, take your calls. If you have a question or comment relating to your own personal financial situation or anything I'm talking about here tonight, jump on the phone lines. Give me a call, 627-7979. All we need is your first name, city you're calling from, and no matter what I'm talking about, if it's important to you, then it's important to me. We'll get you right on air. 627-7979. Wealthway Financial Advisors is the proud sponsor of Dollars and Common Sense. We are an independent registered investment advisor, which means we're legally held to a fiduciary standard to put our clients' interest ahead of our own in any business dealing or recommendation that we make, and that's the way it should be when you work with a financial advisor. As the premier financial planning firm in Hampton Roads, we integrate expert investment management with customized ongoing financial planning advice to help our clients answer life's big financial questions and enhance their quality of life. So by design, we can't work with everyone. We work with a relatively small group of high net worth individuals, but that's one of the reasons we feel so strongly about coming here every second and fourth Tuesday at 6 p.m., and that's to reach out and help as many people in the Hampton Roads listening area that we can achieve your measure of financial success, because it is a core belief at Wealthway Advisors that the overwhelming majority of people in this country have the opportunity for financial security if they choose it, and is a choice because it takes some time, it takes some effort, and it takes some knowledge. We are here to help. You got to take that first step, though. Pick up the phone. Give me a call, 627-7979, whether you want to talk about anything having to do with the investment markets, the economy, insurance products like life insurance, health insurance, property casualty, taxes, tax planning, tax reduction strategies, retirement planning, retirement plans, 401ks, 403bs, TSPs, IRAs, Roth IRAs, mortgage options, Social Security claiming strategies, or estate planning, wills and trusts, and all that and more falls under the umbrella of personal finance. We are here to discuss tonight, 627-7979. All right, tonight we are going to talk about estate planning. What happens to your money if you don't have an estate plan, the causes, the problems that causes, and ways to go about avoiding it, and the importance of an overall estate plan. Because there is a lot of sort of mystery, I think, around most people's idea of what estate planning is. It's usually not the most foremost topic on people's mind, but an estate plan is a good component of a comprehensive financial plan. So with our clients, we are always recommending that our clients get a professionally drafted estate plan by a properly licensed attorney. We do not draft estate planning documents. Only attorneys can do that. But we do advise at a high level the importance of estate planning, and we help integrate estate plans into clients' overall financial plan. So most people assume estate planning is really kind of only for the wealthy or only for older individuals, people in their 80s, or only about what happens after death. But none of that is really true. In reality, estate planning is more about control, about clarity, and about protecting the people that you care about while you're alive, and then, yes, somewhat after you're gone. So tonight, we'll try to help listeners understand what actually happens when someone dies or becomes incapacitated without proper planning in place. And the goal here is not to create fear or anxiety, but the goal is to create awareness and raise your level of estate planning awareness. Because without an estate plan, families are often left dealing with confusion. There's delays. There could be unnecessary court involvement. You can get additional stress in addition to the stressful event of having a loved one pass away, additional financial stress, and then unintended outcomes of a poorly drafted or non-existent estate plan. So we'll try to blend the emotional side of estate planning with the practical side, focus on why estate planning matters, what documents are typically involved, and then some of the mistakes that families commonly make and how thoughtful planning can reduce the chaos around an already difficult situation. So, not all of estate planning is about transferring money, although that's what we commonly think about when we think about estate planning, passing my assets and my money and my real estate onto other family members or charities or so forth. But it's really kind of like more about protecting people and the people around you and your family and your loved ones, not just transferring money. And the estate planning is relevant really to everyone, not just ultra high net worth families, not just people, older people in their 80s. The effects of a good estate plan wind their way throughout all aspects of your life, and hopefully I'll shed some light on that today. So some of the problems that most families don't see coming when they don't effectively do their estate planning, usually people, like a lot of things with financial planning, it doesn't tend to be an emergency. It's something that can usually be put off until tomorrow. And then tomorrow turns into the next day, which turns into a week, which turns into a month, which turns into a year. And then years can go by when no action has been taken. Very common when it comes to estate planning. People often assume they have more time than they think they do. They kind of think things will work themselves out. That I don't know what's going to happen after I'm gone, but I'm sure somebody else will take care of this. Not my problem. That's short-sighted thinking. Or people believe that everything automatically just goes to the right people without formal planning. I mean, technically, we all do have an estate plan set up for us by the Commonwealth of Virginia, and there are laws on the books that delineate where the ownership of your assets go based on heredity and family arrangements and so forth. But rarely is that appropriate for most people. So it's sort of like the estate plan of last resort, and it only really deals with the financial aspects of your estate plan. It doesn't deal with some of the other legal and medical aspects of an estate plan. One of the things we hear from time to time, clients say is, well, you know what, I'm not going to worry too much about that. The kids are going to figure that out when I'm gone. I mean, I'm going to leave them $1 million house and I got a $2 million IRA. That should be enough. They'll figure it out. That idea, and usually people talk like that because they don't want to deal with the reality of the situation, right? You have to start talking openly about your own mortality and recognize that all of us are mortal, and if we have particular ideas or wishes about how to transfer our hard-earned money to our other family members and do so in a way that is healthy to the entire family unit, then just leaving it up to the kids is not going to get it done. That is going to cause more problems, more confusion, more conflict than dealing with the estate plan, than going through some of the uncomfortableness of developing an estate plan and doing it properly, maturely, and ultimately professionally. So, in reality, when someone dies or becomes incapacitated without the proper documents, state law and court processes often determine what happens next, and that's often referred to as the probate process. But because people delay setting up an estate plan because it's not the most fun thing to think about or talk about, that they'll often think that their verbal wishes are enough. They aren't. You can transfer some. I would say this: talking about estate planning is better than doing nothing about estate planning. Talking to your kids, your adult children, about what you would like to see happen if something happens to you, at least verbally communicating your wishes, that's something, but it's not enough. It's not enough when it comes to more significant size estates, and it's not enough when you have a family full of sons and daughters and nieces and nephews and other people who might receive your assets if not for your own estate planning direction. So, and also, most times when families are going through the estate uh, settlement process, it's a time of high emotional stress. There can be a lot of medical issues involved. A lot of times, people in the hospital may be receiving treatment, operations for months leading up to an eventual passing. That creates its own layer of complexity. And the procrastination of the whole process becomes dangerous over time because the more you procrastinate, the more complex typically your financial life gets, and maybe your family life as well. And so the more you procrastinate, the more difficult it is, the longer time it's going to take, the more it's going to cost. And delay, like a lot of things in life, rarely is productive. So this is pretty well borne out by some studies and in industry knowledge. There was a study a couple years ago from caring.com website. Majority of American adults still do not have a will or estate planning documents in place. So that majority would be over 50%. Do not have a will or estate planning documents in place. And estate planning attorneys consistently report that lack of planning increases family conflict, court involvement, and administrative delays. So hopefully I've raised some awareness there. You're starting to understand the importance of an estate plan. When we come back, we'll talk about what happens if you don't have an estate plan, and then ultimately the core documents that create a good basic estate plan. I'm certified financial planner Kevin Zivna. You're listening to Dollars and Common Sense on News Talk 790 WNIS.
Wealthway Financial Advisors, planning for life. Wealthway Financial Advisors, planning for life.
And welcome back to Dollars and Common Sense, your local source for objective, unbiased financial advice. I'm certified financial planner Kevin Zivna, president at Wealthway Financial Advisors, the premier financial planning firm in Hampton Roads, where we integrate expert investment management with customized ongoing financial planning advice to help our clients answer life's big financial questions and enhance their quality of life. For more information about us, you can look us up online at wealthwayadvisors.com. All right, tonight we're talking about estate planning, the importance of having an estate plan, the problems that result if you don't have an estate plan, and hopefully providing you with a little motivation to get an estate plan done if you don't have one by the time 2026 is over. How about that? That seems like a reasonable time frame. Okay, so what happens if you don't have an estate plan? Well, without an estate plan, state law largely determines how assets are distributed and who has authority to make decisions. A lot of times we hear a lot of misconceptions around this, estate planning and estate law, and the layperson doesn't have an appreciation for the complexity, the legal complexity around the transfer of assets due to one's incapacity or death. So some of the things we'll hear, some misconceptions, well, everything will automatically just go to my spouse, and then she'll be fine, she'll be well taken care of. Not everything automatically goes to your spouse. It depends on how you have your accounts titled and how they are set up and the beneficiary designations you put on those accounts that are eligible for beneficiary designations. Another thing we'll hear clients say, well, I'm not wealthy enough to really need a plan. That's just for the really rich people. No, we all can benefit from an estate plan, especially some of the medical aspects of an estate plan, which I'll get into later on in the show. And then for some more savvy clients, we sometimes hear, well, the beneficiary designation on my accounts, that's going to take care of everything. That's somewhat true in that a beneficiary designation does a great job of very quickly, easily, simply, and cheaply transfer assets at death. But the beneficiaries have to be set up properly, and you have to put them on all the accounts that you can put them on. Typically, those are your retirement accounts, so 401ks, 403bs, TSPs, IRAs, Roth IRAs, simple IRAs, 457 plans. All those accounts come with your ability to add a beneficiary. And so the beneficiary is that legal designation of the person or people who you want to receive the funds on that account, the account that you place the beneficiary designation on, the account to transfer to those people. And how it works in practice is essentially the beneficiary needs to show up to and also beneficiary designations you could put on bank accounts. Banks are actually making it a little bit easier nowadays to add a beneficiary. In the past, it seemed like it took an act of Congress to get a proper beneficiary put on bank accounts, but banks are getting a little bit more legal savvy about that. So you put a beneficiary on the retirement accounts or bank accounts, and the beneficiary just needs to show up to the bank or the custodian where you have your investment accounts, provide a death certificate and enough identifying information about themselves, and usually in a matter of weeks, the funds in that account that beneficiary is entitled to transfers to that person with almost no cost and with no court involvement. So beneficiary designations are great. They supersede anything in your will. So it doesn't matter what your will says, what instructions are in the will. If you put beneficiaries on these accounts, the money on those accounts will transfer prior to any reading of the will and distribution of assets in the will. So a very great, powerful tool when we sit down with our clients every year or twice a year. We are always reviewing clients' beneficiary account setup structure to make sure that their wishes are always up to date and put in place before anything negative happens to our clients there. So the idea of having a estate plan in advance is really like kind of laying out an instruction manual. That's kind of the best way to think about it, to demystify the estate planning process. It's really just an advanced instruction manual that is set up properly and legally, that it will be honored by the court system and by the custodians, the banks, the brokerage companies, the mutual fund companies. It will be honored by them in order to transfer your assets in the event of your death. And some of the problems that can result by not having this put in place, the American Bar Association notes that intestacy laws, which are the laws that govern how assets transfer when there is not an estate, intestacy laws vary by state and may not align with individual wishes. Remember, the state of Virginia, the Commonwealth of Virginia, already has legal transfer rules on the books for all of us, so that where there are gaps in the estate plan, state law will kick in, and it will be up to a judge to determine how and when that money transfers. So it's important to revise your estate planning docs when moving to another state. That is always a trigger to have your estate plan reviewed, because each state can have does have differences in the transfer rules when assets pass via death. And the probate process can involve legal costs, administrative delays. It is a public process, so public court filings are made available to those who are interested in those sort of things, and they differ depending on state law and asset structure. So Again, without that proper estate plan, getting mired into the legal probate process of distribution is costly, time-consuming, frustrating, and is largely avoidable if you do your planning on the front end. So sometimes you see this crop up. The real importance of having a good estate plan when you have blended families, because if second marriage, late in life marriage, marriage with with kids from a previous marriage, that adds multiple layers of complexity onto an estate distribution process. So people who have families like that, it is extra important that you have a good estate planning instruction manual done on the front end. Surviving spouse struggles to access accounts titled solely in the deceased spouse name. So if your husband was the only one who has his name on the title to the tractor or the boat or some other less used item of assets in your family's estate, then trying to get that transferred to the surviving spouse can take a lot longer, be much more difficult without a good estate plan in place. We'll talk more about what makes up that good estate plan once we come back. I'm certified financial planner Kevin Zivna. You're listening to Dollars and Common Sense on News Talk 790 WNIS.
Wealthway Financial Advisors, planning for life. Wealthway Financial Advisors, planning for life.
And welcome back to Dollars and Common Sense, your local source for objective, unbiased financial advice. I'm certified financial planner Kevin Zivna, the president of Wealthway Financial Advisors, the premier financial planning firm in Hampton Roads, where we integrate expert investment management with customized ongoing financial planning advice to help our clients answer life's big financial questions and enhance their quality of life. For more information about us, you can check us out online at wealthwayadvisors.com. Once there, you can request an information packet to find out what it's like to work with us, or sign up for a free quarterly newsletter at wealthwayadvisors.com. Just go to the Request a Consultation page, put your name and address in the dialog boxes there, select the appropriate drop-down menu, and we'll get that information out to you later on this week. And that's all we will use your name and address for, is just to send you the information that you request. Or if you have some nuanced questions, want to speak to a live human being, give us a call at the office, 456-2200. Want to remind everybody our next live show will be in 2 weeks on Tuesday, June 9th. But if you can't catch us live every second and fourth Tuesday of the month at 6 p.m., get the show as a podcast. Search for Dollars and Common Sense wherever you get your podcast. Download us, take us with you where you go, and listen at your convenience. And for those of you into social media, we have a presence on Facebook and LinkedIn. Search for Wealthway Financial Advisors, hit that like or follow button, and then once every week or two we put up an interesting and informative financial planning post to keep you engaged in the process. All right, tonight we're talking about estate planning, the importance of having an estate plan, and the problems that result when you don't have a comprehensive estate plan. So now we'll talk about what makes up a good estate plan. And it's not just a will. Everyone thinks the will is the estate plan. No, the will is a component of a good estate plan, but it is not at all sufficient when it comes to a comprehensive estate plan. So basic estate plan is not one document. It's a coordinated set of instruments and instructions designed to address the financial, the legal, and medical decisions. So what are those documents or instruments that make up a good estate plan? Well, the aforementioned will. Yes, we all kind of know about that. But as I said in the previously in the show, beneficiary designations on accounts that will accept a beneficiary designation supersede any instructions in the will, meaning those beneficiaries will get paid out before anyone looks at the will and then tries to divvy up the assets. So the will is almost the instructions of last resort. What has not been distributed as we get down to the will, those accounts that have not been distributed, then the will come into play, and the instructions in the will govern. Okay, but there's several other very important documents that make up a comprehensive estate plan that most people are not familiar with. So another one, a durable financial power of attorney. Financial power of attorney. Someone else, a trusted family member or friend who can act on your behalf on financial matters in the event that you are incapacitated. So some of the parts of an estate plan have nothing to do with death. They have everything to do with life on earth, except when you're in a state that you can't make decisions on your own. You are in a state of incapacity. You had a heart attack. You are in the hospital for cancer treatments. You had a stroke. Whatever the reason that gets you to the point of incapacity, if you can't act on your own, then a financial power of attorney can help take care of financial matters for you. Pay your bills. Make sure that your electricity doesn't get shut off, that the medical bills that are rolling in now are being paid appropriately, that there's enough money in your bank account to pay the mortgage and so forth. Durable financial power of attorney, that's a component. Healthcare power of attorney, that's another trusted family member or friend who can make decisions about health care on your behalf if you can't do it yourself, if you are in a place where you cannot fully speak or communicate. Now, a lot of people think that their spouse is automatically put into the role of the healthcare power of attorney, or is that other person who will speak on their behalf. We are learning that it's getting harder and harder to look at the spouse as the default healthcare power of attorney. In other words, doctors, hospitals are not just defaulting to the spouse's instructions for the husband or wife who is incapacitated, and that a formal legal healthcare power of attorney document needs to be in place before medical profession will pass information to and accept instruction from another person on your behalf. So, healthcare power of attorney. Then we have an advance medical directive, also known as a living will. And that's where you lay out your wishes on what you would like to see happen if you are in a state of incapacity, and how long you might want to remain in that state. So the common example that a lot of people aware of, if I'm in a coma and I can't really speak or hear or move or do much of anything for myself, how long do I want to remain in that state? Well, an advanced medical directive or living will provides that instruction to medical staff so that they know how to follow your wishes. The advantage of having that put in place is that you are not placing that decision burden on your spouse or on your adult kids or your long-lost nephew who you hadn't seen, because that's your next of kin. Whoever is left, if you don't put out your instructions in advance, then you're leaving it up to somebody else to make the decision for you. And I can tell you from professional experience, that is a heavy weight that you are placing on someone else's shoulders. That's a heavy burden for someone else to carry. Almost no one wants to be responsible, right, for pulling the plug on grandma, to put it crudely. And so oftentimes family members will insist on all life-saving measures, regardless of cost, inconvenience, quality of life, what have you, just so they're not responsible for being the one who said no more treatment to the doctor. So advanced medical directive, living will, lays out those instructions, your instructions, in advance, so another person doesn't have to make the decision for you. Then talked about beneficiary designations. Those are key component. of a good estate plan. You can get those put in place with the help of your financial advisor or the custodian, where you might have your brokerage accounts, your IRAs, or the bank that you bank at as well. They can put beneficiary designations on their account. Does not require an attorney, does not necessarily require any professional involvement, but to get it all coordinated with your other accounts, it is a good idea to do it in conjunction with the professionals who create and design your estate plan. And then finally, the potential for trusts, right? Trust structures that may be helpful depending on your type of financial situation, the complexity of the financial situation, and the complexity of your family situation. As I talked about earlier, a blended family, a second marriage, kids from previous marriages, all now living together in a new family unit. That's where things really get complicated. And a trust could be a device that helps manage that complexity. A lot of times people think trust, they think saving on taxes or trusts are only for the really wealthy. Trust fund babies, right? Well, no, you don't need, trusts don't really have a lot to do with saving anyone any money on taxes. Again, depends on structure and complexity. But for most all of us, trusts and taxations are two separate issues. Put that out of your mind. Then the complexity of the trust or the purpose of the trust can be designed by a good estate planning attorney to help smooth out the rough edges of the complexity of second marriages, blended families. Usually, each spouse wants their own children to inherit their own money that they brought into the second marriage. That requires some specific direction in the estate plan. A trust can help with some of that. But just know, when it comes to trust documents, trust work, maintaining a trust, administering a trust, there's a fair amount of paperwork and dotting of I's, crossing of T's that go on to make a trust work. That largely falls on your shoulders. Most estate planning attorneys will draft the trust documents, but they don't administer the trust. You administer your own trust. Most people do. There are trust fund companies that can do it for you, but then you are talking much higher levels of wealth, typically above the $20 million range and bigger. But below that, most people act as their own trustee, and you got to be up to the task and the challenge of making sure that the trust is properly funded, which means that accounts are properly titled in the name of the trust. If you don't transfer your house, your car, your bank accounts, your brokerage accounts into the name of the trust, then they aren't in the trust. And the language of the trust is useless when it comes to assets that are not in the trust. So you got to get things in the trust. You have to keep it up to date, and you have to. You open up new bank accounts. You have to get those titled properly in name of the trust. If you don't, all that trust work, all the cost that went into it, all the time that you went to have it developed, becomes worthless if you don't do the admin part of a trust properly. So, doing all of these are the main components of a good estate plan: the will, the durable financial power of attorney, the healthcare power of attorney, advanced medical directive, beneficiary designations, and potential trust. Those are your components of a good comprehensive estate planning. It is far more than just a will. And so when you go to an estate planning attorney, typically what you're looking at is an estate planning package that encompasses all these different devices. And good estate planning attorneys would know all about this. You don't have to know all the different devices and so forth. They'll help you put those in place, but you have to come with the ideas of how you want your assets distributed and when you want your assets distributed when you are designing and building an estate plan. Many estate planning problems occur before death, though, not after. As I mentioned, incapacity can create financial and medical decision-making challenges if authority has not been documented clearly. And we are hearing more frequently that the medical profession is not automatically taking your spouse's instructions as rules that they need to follow if you are incapacitated, unless you have a healthcare power of attorney, which typically is part of a good estate plan. All right, going to pause right here for our last break. We're going to be back in just a couple minutes. I'm certified financial planner Kevin Zivna. You're listening to Dollars and Common Sense on News Talk 790 WNIS.
Financial advisors, planning for life. Wealthway Financial Advisors, planning for life.
And welcome back to Dollars and Common Sense, your local source for objective, unbiased financial advice. I'm your host, certified financial planner Kevin Zivna, the president of Wealthway Financial Advisors, the premier financial planning firm in Hampton Roads, where we integrate expert investment management with customized ongoing financial planning advice to help our clients answer life's big financial questions and enhance their quality of life. For more information about us, you can look us up online at wealthwayadvisors.com. All right, tonight we're talking about estate planning, the importance of estate planning, and what makes up a good estate plan. Many people think estate planning is mainly about transferring wealth, but in reality, it is often more about reducing stress, preserving relationships, good relationships, and creating clarity during emotional, stressful situations. And, when someone passes away, that's difficult enough. Close family member, loved one passing away, that's difficult enough. Without the good instructions of an estate plan layered on top of that, and the decision making that needs to be made relatively quickly with imperfect information, without the good instruction of estate plan, just adds to the stress, adds to the anxiety, adds to the weight and the gravity of the situation. So I kind of have a saying that, like, estate planning is not something you do for yourself, it's something you do for your loved ones, right? True, you are not here to see the aftermath, but we sit with the adult surviving kids who are wondering what mom or dad would have wanted me to do. They don't know. The not knowing it makes a difficult situation even more hard to manage and get through, because all they're trying to do is try to honor their parents' wishes and legacy and do right by mom and dad. In most cases, that's what we see. But when you don't have the instructions of an estate plan, the kids don't have any direction, and they're kind of just left to figure it out. And oftentimes, siblings have different opinions on what they think mom or dad would have wanted. That difference of opinion among siblings can cause conflict at a time of high stress. So the estate plan is a gift that you give to the rest of your family by clearing up the ambiguity. All right. Clarity reduces conflict. If you have legacy wishes, if you have causes that are important to you, charities, churches, schools, some other form of passion that you have that you would like to see your money be used for, then an estate plan is the tool that you use to ensure that your legacy, that your values are passed along if this is important to you. And typically, the more money people amass, the more their legacy and their values become important to them. They want to make a difference. Money can do that. Money can be a force for powerful good if harnessed properly and used properly and transferred properly through the estate plan. Behavioral finance research continues to show that financial decisions become more emotional during periods of stress, grief, and uncertainty. And emotional decisions tend to be suboptimal decisions. So the more emotion around a decision at a high stress point, chances are they're probably going to be bad decisions. Estate plan can help reduce that. So good estate planning creates clarity and confidence. A well-designed estate plan creates organization, clarity, confidence. It does not eliminate, of course, the emotional difficulty of the passing of a loved one, but it can reduce unnecessary confusion and friction. You get greater control of the financial assets, clear instructions, reduced family stress, better coordination between legal, financial, and tax decisions. The better coordination you have between legal, financial, and tax, the better off those decisions tend to be. The lower tax you pay, the easier it is to transfer the assets, the smoother is the process, and the improved efficiency in the administration comes from a good estate plan. So make sure you keep your documents updated. There's change in family history, change in sometimes job, change if you move to another state, good opportunity to update an estate plan. Coordinate estate plans with beneficiary designations and titling. I talked about that earlier. Periodic reviews, probably if you're working with a financial advisor, annually is good enough. If you aren't working with a financial advisor, then every, I'd say 4 to 5 years, you might want to get a checkup on your estate plan by a qualified estate planning attorney. And some sort of just to wrap things up here, estate planning is an act of responsibility, and it's more about wealth transfer. Without planning, state laws and court processes often make decisions for families. Basic documents can dramatically improve clarity and reduce stress. Estate planning, not really about preparing for death. It's about making life easier for the people you care about. That's all the time we have for tonight. I'm certified financial planner Kevin Zivna. You've been listening to Dollars and Common Sense on News Talk 790 WNIS.